Hello there. Welcome to the big story on Quest Television. Today we want to look at the administration of His Excellency Governor Sheriff Oborevwori, his contributions to Delta people, and indeed some of the things that we need to talk about this morning. Particularly, we'd like to reflect on the vision behind the M.O.R.E agenda and other developmental projects in Delta State. To talk to us on this issue is the Commissioner for Work, Rural Roads and Public Information, Mr. Charles ANIAGWU, who is going to help us to discuss today on this very insightful topic. Good morning and welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning. It's my pleasure.
All right. Thank you so much. Now, because of time, we like to start straight. The World Christian program that has really gotten a lot of accolades is the M.O.R.E agenda of His Excellency the Governor of Delta State. Now, what are the primary goals of this M.O.R.E agenda?
Well, once again, thank you very much. And let me, before going into the discussion, appreciate the management, staff, and the entire crew of Quest FM. I'm actually seized of the fact that the medium has been a partner to our government, even right from the last administration. So we must appreciate the effort of your promoter, who of course is the chairman of the group, both the radio and the TV arm. And so please take back to him that as a government and as an administration, we do appreciate what he's doing to help us reach out to our people, and at the same time serve as a feedback channel for us to know how our people feel on a number of issues. Now to the questions you've raised. In the course of the 2023 campaign, the build-up to that campaign, starting from 2022, our governor today was able to crisscross the length and breadth of the 25 local government areas, and of course the 270 wards. And in the course of that campaign, he made promises, and he was able to put those promises into an agenda. You know, for you to say you want to do A and B, you must have a roadmap. That agenda, which is codenamed the M.O.R.E agenda, which is targeted, of course, at advancing Delta, is the roadmap. Like a man says he wants to go to Lagos and you are in Delta, you must define how you want to get to Lagos. Do you want to trek? Do you want to go by boat? Do you want to go by road, in which case you are traveling using a vehicle, or do you want to use motorcycle, keke, or you want to fly? All those things, once you define it, means you are beginning to take steps as to how you want to get to Lagos. And so if it is going to be by boat, you know that if you stand here in Asaba, you may not be able to get the boat. So you now begin to think, which boat will likely take me to Lagos? Then which means you may have to go to M.O.R.E and then see how you can go by boat to M.O.R.E and the way, how long it's going to take you to get there. And if it's also a vehicle that you need, you decide which bus stop or which particular vehicle, is it by bus or everything. So that becomes your roadmap as to how to get to where you want to go to. The Lagos in this instance are the promises that the governor made to the people as to what he wants to bring to bear to advance the development of Delta and then bring value to the life and the living conditions of Deltans. And then the roadmap is the M.O.R.E agenda, like I said earlier. And to spell it out, the M.O.R.E, which is spelled as M.O.R.E, means two things. Okay. One, more as in going to do more than what was in existence, which means not only sustaining what he met on ground by the last administration, but he's also going to add to it. That is more in that instance. The more in the second leg, which is very, very important, speaks to the issue of meaningful development, opportunities for all, realistic reforms, and enhanced peace and security. Now, these thematic areas were coined to be able to address a whole lot of policy priorities. In the area of meaningful development, you could see that we're taking development to the people, not according to our own whims and caprices, but in view of what the people do desire in their respective localities. We are building road, addressing the four issues that are in that M.O.R.E. Okay. Building road as a way of meaningful development to the people, because through the road they are able to navigate through their different communities and possibly evacuate their farm produce or whatever products they are selling. Opportunities for all, in the sense that we are not only building road in one community, we are making sure that every community, in this instance, every local government is served by the roads we are constructing, which is why we have been able to start off in a novel approach to budgeting. that made us to be able to have certain provisions for each local government. So in which case, irrespective of whether you have a big man or not, we'll be able to address your needs, taking advantage of such budgetary provision. Realistic reforms, because we're also taking a look at reforms not only in terms of the laws and the process and the things that exist, but in terms of how we were even building roads in the past. So we are seeing the governor moving everywhere, taking steps, ensuring that we have value for money in form of doing things differently. And then, of course, enhance peace and security. We are building this road so that we increase accessibility. Now, there are some roads we have constructed on the promptings of security agencies that each time they are maybe running after some or chasing some daredevil criminals, they find it difficult to navigate certain corridor, and that except the roads are made motorable, it will be difficult for them. And so we have to step in, either have to grade the road and make it motorable, or some form of a tarring of such roads. All those things, you could see that even in just building a road, we are even trying to respond to the issues in the M.O.R.E agenda. Now, having made that promise, this governor saw the need to be able to also live up to those promises, in which case we say living the talk, walking the talk. It's not only living it, that every day is on it, it's also walking that talk. So talk is cheap, but action is expensive. So now the governor is bringing in the expensive part of it, which is the action, to match up with the talk, and thereby making the talk itself to be very, very relevant to the needs of the people. Perhaps as we progress, we can begin to deal with the sectoral approaches to some of these issues for you to understand how well the governor has tried as much as possible to live up to the promises he made on May 29, 2023.
Okay. Now, you talked about, you made the mention of a statement, you talked about how the governor doing it differently from how roads were constructed in the past. Now, do you see some kind of distinction in terms of handling of projects, especially road projects, since we brought that up earlier on? Can we say there is a little improvement in terms of execution or maybe quality or standards of these projects to the previous administration?
What you must understand, like they say even in our villages, even I'm sure in your community, when your parents pray for you, there's one prayer that is always very, very profound, that my children will be greater than me. I'm sure in your community they usually offer such prayers. Oborevwori is a product of the last administration. Wow. Even having been part of that last administration as the speaker and number 3 citizen. Experience, they also say, is the best teacher. He has seen the areas where the previous administration made giant strides, and he made promise to sustain such strides. He has also seen in areas where, because we are human beings and so we are subject to human foibles, areas where certain decisions could have also been made better. And then with the knowledge of hindsight, he has also initiated programs and processes to improve on such, thereby giving vent that to those local prayers that my children will be greater than I. Now, it will be wrong for anybody to think that every administration will do everything right at the same time. Perhaps by the grace of God, when in 2031, by the grace of God, when Oborevwori must have been able to also finish his second tenure, thanks to the people of Delta that I believe are quite appreciative and we want to return him in 2027. The next administration would have also been able to learn 1 or 2 things that they could improve upon. Change, they say, is the only thing that is constant. So to that extent, Oborevwori saying, for us to get value for money, there are certain steps we must take. It's knowledge of hindsight. The last administration did very, very well, which is why the former governor, Senator Oborevwori, was nicknamed the Roadmaster. He made a whole lot of impacts in our lives as Deltans, whether in the road sector, in the education sector, where he established 3 brand new universities, and of course, in many other sectors, in the health sector, and of course, the security that was brought to bear in our state, which of course catapulted us from the number 4 position of oil production when he took office in May 2015 to the number 1 position as at the time he was leaving. So that administration did so well in making a whole lot of difference in our lives. And where we are today, the Professor Chike Edeje Secretariat is one of the legacy projects of the Oborevwori-led administration.
Mm.
Today, Oborevwori is also taking giant strides in line with the M.O.R.E agenda, not only to sustain those very laudable programs and policies of the last administration, but to also using the vehicle of the M.O.R.E to surpass them. So when you see that today we have Julius Berger working in Delta and then making us proud and having changed the skyline of Warri, Udu and environs, you could see that that is just both sustaining and advancing the growth of our development, thanks to the experience he has garnered. When we also see that we are now moving day to day to look at the roads that are being constructed, because we have seen that in the course of time, those who have saddled with the responsibility of helping us to supervise these roads may not have lived up to the billings. And some persons may have also taken so many things for granted. We now say, no, let us also learn from it. That is a way of advancing. And so, it is not a matter of a comparison. It is a matter of showing that experience, being the best teacher, has become something that is helping this administration. Don't also forget, our governor has never hidden the fact that he has street credibility. That credibility of the streets is also coming to play in a number of policies and programs that he's initiating and implementing.
All right. Well, you listen to the Commissioner of Rural Roads and Public Information, Charles ANIAGWU. What he said is not a matter of comparison. It is a matter of improvement, because experience, they said, is the best teacher. You heard what he said. Now, as we try to move forward, we had in the news recently, anybody who must have been following the trends will understand that the governor says he wants to run an administration that is absent of collecting loans to execute projects in respect to this. Now, if we look at the M.O.R.E agenda and some of the things we mentioned in the course of this communication, you talk about road and other things. We bother much on finances. Now, this is where my question comes. Do you think without borrowing, Delta State government can be able to execute the M.O.R.E agenda effectively?
Let me start so that you don't also get the governor's position wrong. The governor did not say we will never have cause to borrow.
Okay.
He only said that we have not borrowed and that we are able to still make use of what we have at the moment. If as we make progress and there is a need for us to carry out certain projects and it becomes profitable, underline, profitable and reasonable for us to approach either the capital market or the money market, for us to have access to certain funds, for us to also realize what we want to do, that will not be out of place. Borrowing is part of existence, but that you must borrow to give value to the people. You don't borrow to just go and leak soup, and then the next moment your next generation is paying without even having to enjoy the aroma, let alone partake in the leaking of the soup. If the time comes for us to be able to navigate towards that corridor, it could become an option. But at the moment, the governor has been able to apply a level of prudence that makes us to be solvent, such that we are able to carry out the programs and policies and projects that we have with what we have. So let nobody begin to think that borrowing essentially is wrong. What is wrong is if you borrow and you do not have a concomitant positive effect on what you have borrowed. In any case, whatever you borrow should be able to produce enough dividends to possibly take care of the cost implication, either by way of interest or the main capital of what you have borrowed. So where we are now is that we are solvent, thanks to the very prudent approach to governance by the governor, and that solvency has helped us to be able to initiate projects, to be able to carry through those projects, and you could see that we're also taking effort to liquidate both our contractual and other loans that were hitherto some form of challenge to planning. And so, not that maybe one day we will now see the need to approach certain bodies for the purpose of having fun. They will say, no, I thought you say you will never borrow. No, we never said we will never. If the need arises, it's a conditional clause that there must be a need that will arise, and that need should be positive, and that need will add value to our growth, if that becomes the case, we take that option. But at the moment, we are solid enough to be able to take care of the things we have put forward.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that clarification. You know, a lot of people misconstrued that to mean that the governor said he was not going to borrow at all through his tenure. And that clarification being done, recently also we read in the news that the governor or the government of Delta State is on the voyage of freeing data of drug abuse and other things. Now, you are the Commissioner of Public Information and, of course, rural roads, which the rural roads will come to that much later. But I want to look at the information rather so that we can have a clear path to understanding. Now, how well or how better can we say we propagate this message well, using information as instrumentality of propagating these messages? You know, the information, indeed, they say man cannot not communicate. So information is important at every point. So how do we use the instrumentality of communication to propagate this message of drug-free Delta?
Well, thank you very much. I must start by appreciating Orientation Bureau, the head of the Orientation Bureau, Barrister ONSC Latimer, is doing quite a good job in that direction, going to schools in the form of catch them young, and then letting them know the dangers of drug abuse and how much it can go to destroy lives. But having said that, we are also interested in getting our parents to understand that they have a whole lot of responsibility in the upbringing of the child. Oftentimes, when you take a decision as a government, particularly when the children are in school, the tendency for individuals to just eschew the decision of government and begin to either cast aspersion is quite rife in our society today. But we fail to realize that there are certain issues that are fundamental to the development of the child. I recall in 2016 when we had the Education Summit, and I continue to make reference to this, where there was a question that was posed as to who owns the child. And then the conclusion is that three sets of persons own the child. The father, the mother who give birth to the child through a biological process, the society where this child will operate, either in form of civil society groups, the churches, the government, the many other persons, and then of course the third, the government being the one that regulates activity in the society. That these different persons own the child because the child must play a role, which is why government takes certain decisions that guide how the child proceeds as to what year do you need, where do you need to get to go into secondary school. All this becomes a government decision. How many years are you going to be in secondary school? How many years will you be in university? Government taking those decisions, establishing the schools for you to be able to attend, paying teachers to be able to teach you. You see government contributing its own to the upbringing of that child. Now, the society where the child, where you go to church, you meet NGOs, people talk to you, they also have what they call influence, sociological influence on your growth. And then, of course, most importantly, very most importantly, the father and the mother. Because at the formative years, before you get to the age of 10, these other arms, these other two branches may not have so much direct access to you. You are up to 1 year, sometimes. Your mother, if is doing exclusive breastfeeding, may even get up to 2 years. Like during our time, we even get to the level where sometimes you will draw a chair close and say, "Mom, come and sit down." Because you're really knowledgeable enough to know that your mom must sit down at that moment to be able to breastfeed you. It's not like these days now somebody is saying he's doing exclusive and 6 months is already interested in the shape of the breast and careless about what effect it will have on the upbringing of the child. And so some of them may not even want to breastfeed at all. So now at that level, it is just you and the child interacting. When you go to school, the primary school in those days or the nursery school, it is your parents that is likely determining whether the kind of respect you must have for your teachers before you shift them to the teachers, because you must get out of a play group before you could go enter maybe some form of kindergarten, and then you now proceed to the primary school. At that moment, your parents do have a whole lot of influence on you. Even if at the moment now, because of the early start, the school system, which is society, now begin to have influence on what you do. So now broken homes oftentimes also lead to broken developments. And so there are things you will not do because you are scared that your father will not tolerate this. Now in some broken homes, there is no father to be scared of. Sometimes there's no mother to be scared of. When you see people who don't value life, go and check where they are coming from. When you see people who goes ahead to take what does not belong to them, go and check where they are coming from. When you see children who want to smoke everything smokable, including all sorts of loud, be they Canadian or whatever that you call it. I was listening to my part of this social media thing that you see on TikTok. And I was listening to one girl, I don't want to call her a lady, that I believe in my own opinion is already lost. Apologies to anybody who may feel otherwise. Saying that for you to be able to have access to her, some form of Kana knowledge of her, that you must come with Kana. That once you bring Kana, she's ready for you. Honestly, at the time, that was just about 5 months ago. I didn't even know what they call. I didn't even know what they call Kana. I have to call one of my friends who possibly is much more on the street on such matters. So, but what is Kana? Is it another kind of drug? Yeah, bro, that's cannabis.
Cannabis.
I said, so it's cannabis this person is talking. A lady says, look, that Kana is good for this activity, extramural activities. For a lady to be publicly, that one is not just content creation, to be saying that once you bring Kana, that cannot be said to be a child who have the right upbringing. So what I'm trying to say is that it is true, we are making efforts to campaign, to reach out, for the role of the parents, the father, the mother, and indeed the society that the child is growing cannot be overemphasized in the quest to have functional children who indeed to also lead to functional society. Because a dysfunctional society is a product of a dysfunctional family. So whilst we do our own, we want the media being a body responsible for a whole lot of influencing the society, making opinion, to be able to constantly emphasize the need for parents to live up to their billing and be there for their children and not just chasing money. Money may fizzle away, but your children will keep your name.
Okay. Well, money will fizzle away, but a good name is worth more than any other thing. That is what the commissioner is saying. You talked about the media also propagating this information of trying to inculcate the moral values in children. One, two, again, to also try to reiterate the need for parents to also add premium in moral upbringing, actually. But I am very particular about this media. You know that before the information gets to the public or gets to a larger audiences, there must be this media campaign for this to happen. This is not just the drug-free data now. It's about the governmental projects, the initiative and visions of the administration. Do you see the current administration of Honorable Oborevwori to have prioritized, maybe in terms of supporting, funding the packages of information from the government? You see that as being good enough and maybe enough for the masses of Delta people?
You must know that there's what they call social responsibility.
Okay.
Social responsibility also exists on the part of the media. I recall as a student of mass communication where we were subjected to studies in social responsibility theory. Social responsibility emphasizes the fact that you play down on profit at that moment.
Yeah.
While you could do other things that enables you to be heavy on social responsibility. When it comes to social responsibility, you are also inadvertently working for yourself.
Yeah.
And so as a government, just like we are doing now, we could talk once in a while. The orientation bureau could also once in a while move out. The schools, don't forget, belongs to us. So when the teachers also say don't do this, they're also representing us. But the challenge we have seen is that there are instances where those who should ordinarily help to mitigate the spread of some of these unwholesome practices, in this instance, consumption of illicit drugs. Also, you see them engage in such things. A case in point is some security agencies who even patronize the hawkers or sellers in this produce or this drugs. You could also go to some schools and you see that some teachers, a teacher who is a cultist when he was in higher institution, and nothing happens. So what do you expect him to do when he gets to school? He wants to look for partners.
Okay.
The same thing in a society where you see somebody who is a courtist rising and rising to become a leader. Oftentimes they are not able to divorce themselves from some of those practices that they were engaged in. So that also speaks again to a dysfunctional society. What values do we have there? In those days, they will say, no, if your wife, your daughter says you want to marry, say, who is the father? Who is the mother? They say, no, in that house, the father is a thief. Ah, no, the mother is very troublesome. Ah, no, they have witchcraft and all those things. They will say, your parents will say, no, we can't go there. These days, nobody cares. Once you bring money, irrespective of how you even make it. Somebody will even see one serious Yahoo. When people just goes about to discuss it, it's a Yahoo boy. They just use it to trivialize the effect. You are just saying that this person is a thief, is a scammer. Any job you do and you are getting money that you should not get and you subject another person to agony, it's not acceptable. The same way for those of us who are in politics, who are in government. You go and sit down, you begin to think of how you are going to corner government money so that you become stupendously rich. You're also as guilty as the Yahoo boy. In short, you are even more guilty because some of the things that those who are in the political setting did or are doing is the reason why the other ones want to get quick. So get rich so quick.
Yeah.
It's also responsible for why no more value in the system. Because somebody who just left primary school, secondary school, and then maybe NC or possibly graduate youth service, you just get one appointment. In less than 5 years, you are seeing him cruising on what looks like an exotic vehicle. He builds a very big house. No other job is doing apart from being in government. How about? You know that even no matter how much you legitimize such ill-gotten wealth, it is still stealing.
Okay.
So we must be able to call a spade a spade. And if it is a spoon, just say it's a spoon, even if they have the same shape. Their job is different. So give them the name in line with the job that they are meant to carry. You use a shovel to excavate some materials, whether mixed aggregate of concrete, sand, to dig and all those things. Or you use spoon to eat. Take it and put in your mouth. Take it and put in the soup, like when you want to add salt and spoon and pepper.
Yeah.
But you don't use shovel for those ones.
Okay.
Even if you are cooking food that is meant for the whole community, everyone has its function. When you call it what it is, people will know what it is.
All right.
Than to begin to find one way. So sometimes they say the man don't hammer. What have you hammered? In a number of times, the man have cheated somebody. They are taking what belongs to another person. You say don't hammer. And we use it to trivialize the fact that the man is a thief. Let's call them thieves. So that when the children understand what thief is. But when you put these other names, it's more like a euphemism of some sort for some of those antisocial behavior.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Well, you are still on to the big story on Quest Television. We are here discussing with the Commissioner of Delta State Delta State Government, talking about Honorable Charles ANIAGWU, who is a Commissioner for Rural Roads and Public Information. We've been talking about several things. He talked about a coded way of calling thieves these days and a whole lot of things we talk about. Well, we'll take a breather now. Let's take a break. When we are back, we'll talk about the vision of the governor, insecurity, and maybe the plans for the youth, and of course, every other things that we have. Let's have this time out. We'll be right back to continue.